There is a specific, suffocating kind of silence that settles over the crushed red brick of Roland Garros in the final days of May. It is not the silence of peace. It is the silence of anticipation, the quiet drawing of breath before a physical and psychological war begins. The French Open is not just a tennis tournament. It is a grueling, 2-week examination of human endurance, where the surface itself fights back, stripping away the illusions of form and momentum until only the most ruthless competitors remain. In this arena, every partnership is a calculation, every handshake is a treaty, and every entry into the draw is a declaration of intent. But this year, a sudden, late-breaking alliance has just been announced that fundamentally alters the geopolitical landscape of the women's tour. We are not just looking at a new doubles team. We are witnessing the convergence of two distinct, meteoric trajectories. Alexandra Eala, Victoria Mboko, the 20-year-old pride of the Philippines, and the 19-year-old Canadian phenom, currently sitting as staggering world number 9 in singles. They are officially entering the 2026 French Open doubles main draw together. On the surface, to the casual observer, this might look like a standard youth-driven partnership. Two rising stars deciding to split the court and share the workload in Paris. The media will sell you the narrative of friendship, of two young prodigies deciding to have some fun on the European clay. But if you look closer, if you actually understand the brutal, zero-sum economics of the Women's Tennis Association Tour, you will realize this is something entirely different. This is a highly calculated, strategically lethal alliance born out of a shared history of intense rivalry. This is not a friendship of convenience. It is a psychological weapon forged in the fires of their past encounters. By the end of this deep dive, you will understand exactly why the established titans of the doubles world, specifically the world number 1 seeded juggernaut of Katerina Siniakova and Taylor Townsend, are quietly recalibrating their strategies. You will understand the hidden anatomical and geometric advantages of an Eala-Mboko pairing. But more importantly, we are going to expose the invisible, psychological ceiling that young players face on the tour today, and how this specific partnership is a masterclass in breaking right through it. To understand where we are going, we first have to understand the wreckage of where we have been. We have to rewind the tape to the hard courts of New York City, back to the year 2022, the U.S. Open girls singles semifinal. In one corner, you had Alexandra Eala. She was not just playing for a trophy. She was carrying the suffocating weight of an entire nation on her shoulders. The Philippines, a country fiercely passionate about sports but historically starved for global tennis champions, watched her every move. Eala, shaped by the grueling discipline of the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain, was a tactician. She brought a punishing, heavy, left-handed topspin that was designed to physically break down her opponents. In the other corner was Victoria Mboko. Even then, the Canadian was a physical anomaly. She possessed a raw, concussive power that seemed impossible for her age. The Canadian Tennis Federation had been frantically searching for the next Bianca Andreescu, the next Leylah Fernandez, and Mboko was the heir apparent. That semi-final match in 2022 was supposed to be a clash of titans. Instead, it was an execution. Eala dismantled Mboko, winning 6-1, 7-6. Eala absorbed the Canadian's pace, redirected it, and drove Mboko mad with looping, high-bouncing defensive traps. Eala went on to win the championship, becoming the first Filipino to ever win a Grand Slam junior singles title. She became an overnight icon, a national hero. Mboko, meanwhile, had to pack her bags, sit on a flight back to Toronto, and die just a bitter taste of being entirely outsmarted on the world's biggest stage. That kind of loss does not just fade. It metastasizes. It becomes the fuel that drives the lonely, agonizing hours of practice. And Mboko used that fuel. Fast forward to the professional circuit, specifically the Hong Kong Open just last year. The two met again, no longer as juniors, but as full-fledged professionals navigating the vicious waters of the WTA. This time, the dynamic had shifted. Eala took the first set, 6-3, threatening to repeat history. But Mboko, armed with a newfound emotional regulation and a devastatingly recalibrated forehand, clawed her way back. She flipped the script, winning the next two sets 6-3, 6-4. It was a statement victory. It was Mboko looking across the net and saying, I am no longer the girl you beat in New York. This is the psychological bedrock of their new partnership. They are not strangers hoping for chemistry. They have bled against each other. They have exposed each other's deepest vulnerabilities under the brightest lights. When you partner with the person who knows exactly how to break you, you are partnered with the person who knows exactly how to protect you. They have bypassed the awkward getting to know you phase of doubles tennis and leaped straight into mutual, battle-hardened respect. But let us move past the history and look at the present, because the present reality of Victoria Mboko is nothing short of terrifying for the rest of the tour. At just 19 years old, Mboko has cracked the top 10. She is currently sitting at world number 9 in singles. Think about the gravity of that achievement. We are talking about a teenager who has already captured a WTA 1000 title in Montreal, dealing with the crushing pressure of winning on home soil. Earlier this year, she reached the finals in both Adelaide and Doha. She is not a prospect anymore. She is an established apex predator on the hard courts. However, the clay swing has been a vastly different story for the Canadian. Clay is the great equalizer. It neutralizes sheer pace and demands extreme physical conditioning and point construction. Mboko has played only one clay court match this season in Madrid. She arrived at the Italian Open in Rome as a 10th seed, with a first-round bye, completely primed to make a deep run. But then disaster struck. A severe gastrointestinal illness forced her to withdraw entirely. Her body betrayed her at the exact moment she needed to acclimate to the European dirt. Now she is scrambling. She has taken a wild card into the WTA 500 event in Strasbourg, desperately seeking match rhythm before the gates of Roland Garros open. Strasbourg is notoriously stacked this year, with heavyweights like Madison Keys, Leylah Fernandez, and Ekaterina Alexandrova flooding the draw. But Mboko needs the court time. She needs the feeling of sliding into a shot, the microscopic adjustments required to hit through the heavy, slow conditions of French clay. This is where the genius of the doubles partnership with Alexandra Eala comes into crystal clear focus. Entering the doubles draw is not a distraction for Victoria Mboko. It is a calculated insurance policy. If her singles campaign in Paris is cut short due to a lack of clay court preparation, the doubles draw provides her with guaranteed, high-stakes match play. It keeps her blood pumping. It keeps her integrated into the rhythm of a grand slam. And what about Alexandra Eala? Why is the world number 42 in singles, a player who has painstakingly climbed the ranks? Entering the doubles arena, Eala's trajectory has been a masterclass in slow, deliberate, punishing progress. She is not a flash in the pan. Just weeks ago, following the WTA 1000 in Madrid, she secured a career-high ranking of 42. In Madrid, she didn't just show up. She dominated 12-time champion Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova in straight sets. Furthermore, Eala has already been sharpening her doubles instincts. She partnered with her close friend, Turkey's Zeynep Sanmez, in Madrid. They obliterated their first-round opponents before eventually falling to the absolute titans of the sport, the number one-seeded Czech-American duo of Katerina Siniakova and Taylor Townsend. Despite the loss, that run propelled Eala to a career-high doubles ranking of 88. Eala understands the geometry of the doubles court. More importantly, she understands the distinct advantage she brings to any partnership. She is left-handed. Let us do a micro deep dive into the tactical geometry of a lefty-righty doubles pairing, because this is the invisible architecture that wins Grand Slams. In standard right-handed doubles, the center of the court is often a vulnerability. If both players have their forehands on the outside wings, a hard, dipping shot down the middle forces a backhand reaction, which is naturally defensive. But when you pair a left-handed player like Eala with a right-handed player like Mboko, you can configure the formation so that both players have their forehands positioned in the center of the court. Imagine you are serving against them. If you try to serve down the tee, the most common strategy to break communication between partners, you are serving directly into the strongest, most offensive weapons of both women. Eala's left-handed forehand, soaked in the Dales topspin, can rip sharp, unreturnable angles off a center ball. Mboko's right-handed forehand is a flat, concussive missile. By covering the middle with dual forehands, they essentially shrink the court for their opponents. Furthermore, Eala's left-handed serve out wide on the ad side is a nightmare on clay. The ball bites into the dirt and kicks violently away from the returner, dragging them completely off the screen and opening down the line alley from Mboko to simply put the ball away at the net. It is a suffocating 1-2 punch. Eala is the architect, spinning the web and creating the angles. Mboko is the executioner, bringing top 10 singles power to a doubles format that simply is not used to dealing with that level of raw baseline velocity. This is why the establishment needs to be terrified. When you look at Katerina Siniakova and Taylor Townsend, the undisputed queens of the doubles circuit right now, their dominance is built on hyper-specialization. They have perfected the choreography of doubles. They know exactly where the other is breathing. Siniakova's net coverage is borderline telepathic, and Townsend's heavy, left-handed baseline game anchors the team. But Siniakova and Townsend play doubles almost exclusively. They do not possess the day-in, day-out top-tier singles conditioning that Mboko possesses. If Eala and Mboko meet them in the second week of Roland Garros, it will be a clash of philosophies. It will be the synchronized, specialized choreography of Siniakova and Townsend against the raw, chaotic, overwhelming singles firepower of Eala and Mboko. If the youngsters can turn the doubles match into a baseline brawl, stripping away the finesse of net play and forcing the veterans into a baseline slugfest, the physics favor the 19-year-old world number 9. However, it is my job to play the devil's advocate. We cannot look at this partnership through rose-tinted glasses. We must examine the friction points, the hidden traps that could cause this alliance to spectacularly implode on the Philippe Chatrier court. The first and most glaring issue is the physical toll. The French Open is not played in a vacuum. It is played in fluctuating weather, heavy rain delays, and grinding 3-hour matches. Both Eala and Mboko are prioritizing their singles campaigns. They are both in the main draw. Imagine Victoria Mboko, still recovering from a gastrointestinal illness, grinding through a brutal 2.5-hour singles match against a clay court specialist from Spain or Argentina. Her legs are filled with lactic acid. Her nervous system is fried. 2 hours later, she is told she has to step back out onto court 14 to play a high-stakes doubles match against veteran specialists who have done nothing but rest and strategize all day. Doubles requires explosive, fast-twitch reflexes at the net. If Mboko is fatigued, those reflexes dull by a fraction of a second. In doubles, a fraction of a second is the difference between hitting a clean volley winner and taking a tennis ball straight to the throat. Furthermore, there is the psychological danger of the singles ego. Great doubles teams thrive on submission. You have to submit your ego for the good of the unit. If you make an error, you apologize, you reset, and you support your partner. But singles players, particularly top 10 singles players like Mboko, are inherently solitary creatures. They are used to bearing the full weight of victory and defeat alone. They do not naturally look to their side for validation or tactical shifts. If Eala has a bad serving day, will Mboko become frustrated? If Mboko's wild aggression leads to unforced errors, will Eala have the seniority to rein her in? These two are alphas. They are the apex predators of their respective national federations. Putting two alphas in the same cage and asking them to share the kill is a psychological experiment that can yield spectacular results or catastrophic failure. If they lose a tight first set in the opening round, the temptation to emotionally check out and save their legs for their singles matches will be overwhelming. But this brings us to the deeper, unseen motive behind this pairing. This is not just about the 2026 French Open. This is about the macroeconomics of the WTA Tour. We are currently witnessing a generational changing of the guard. The old establishment is fading, and a vacuum of power has opened up. Young players are realizing that they do not have to wait their turn. But the tour is incredibly expensive, lonely, and mentally devastating. By teaming up, Eala and Mboko are creating a micro-ecosystem of support. They are splitting the intense psychological load of the locker room. When you look at the trajectory of tennis over the next 5 years, partnerships like this will become the blueprint. We are moving away from the era of the isolated, untouchable superstar. The physical demands of the modern game are simply too high for a player to exist in a silo. 5 years from now, the Eala Mboko alliance in Paris will be viewed not as a quirky footnote, but as the moment the new generation realize they are infinitely more dangerous together than they are apart. If this experiment works, If they make a deep run into the quarterfinals or semifinals of Roland Garros, it will trigger a domino effect across the tour. You will see more top-tier singles players abandoning their isolationist strategies and forming high-powered, mercenary doubles teams at the Grand Slams. It changes the broadcast value. It changes the marketing dynamics. Imagine the viewership in Manila combined with the viewership in Toronto, tuning in to watch their respective golden children dismantle the European doubles establishment. It is a television executive's absolute dream. We are standing on the precipice of a fascinating 2 weeks in Paris. The red clay is waiting. The draws are set. Alexandra Eala and Victoria Mboko are walking into Roland Garros not just as individuals carrying the hopes of the Philippines and Canada, but as a unified, lethal entity designed to disrupt the natural order of the sport. They have the history, they have the geometry, and they have the sheer, unadulterated firepower to pull off the unthinkable. Whether they hoist a trophy or crash out in a blaze of glorious, uncoordinated baseline aggression in the first round, one thing is absolutely certain. They will not go quietly. The silence of Roland Garros is about to be shattered. The question is no longer whether the new generation is ready to take over. The question is whether the establishment is prepared for what happens when a new generation decides to hunt in packs. Watch the sidelines. Watch the body language. Because the real story of this year's French Open isn't just about who wins. It's about the alliances that are forged in the dirt. Keep your eyes on Eala and Mboko. If you found this deep dive valuable, if you want to understand the hidden mechanics of professional sports that the mainstream networks completely ignore, hit the subscribe button. We don't just report the scores here. We decode the game. Drop a comment below. Do you think the singles fatigue will destroy Eala and Mboko's chances? Or are we looking at the next great doubles dynasty? Let's get the debate started in the comments, and I will see you all in the next analysis.